Well, Clipper fans, today we have a very special guest. Born in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, he played his midget AAA years with the Saskatoon Blazers and played 2 seasons with the Klippers. He had the best save percentage in the SJHL in the 14-15 season, and he also won SJHL Top Goaltender in that same year. He went on to play 4 seasons with the University of Nebraska Omaha Mavericks in the NCAA, where he was named the NCHC All-Rookie Team in 15-16. Now he's putting together quite the season so far in the East Coast Hockey League with the Wichita Thunder, winning goalie of the month in January. Welcome to episode number 2 of Where Are They Now? Evan Weninger, how's it going?
Appreciate it. It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So what are you up to these days? I imagine you're just plugging away with the season. I know you're kind of nursing injury. Are you getting over that?
Yeah, so it's been just about a month now since I pulled my groin in the warm-ups of a game that we actually had an emergency backup for. So
really?
We ended up getting through a trade, showed up about a half hour before the game and got dressed and went out there for that. So that was
Just dodged a bullet.
Yeah, one of the wilder experiences I've seen, but no, it's been going good. I just got back on the ice. Gonna try and get myself back into game shape here after a month of no skating, and try and get back in the lineup as soon as I can.
All right, on. Well, before we get too far into the NCAA and the East Coast here, I just want to talk about your time with the Klippers and just what do you remember from those years, and what do you attribute your success in those years to make it to the next level?
Yeah, that was a big 2 years for me developmentally and just as a person. I mean, obviously going from living at home for my whole life to moving to Kindersley, a new city or town city, I guess, and having to leave home for the first time was a little different, a little bit tough, but I had a pretty awesome billet family in the Sackvilles, and they treated me like family. It really helped that transition. And on the ice, I mean, it was nice getting to learn from Tyrell King the year before, kind of my first year there, kind of learning how to be a starter and how to carry yourself as the guy on the team that's kind of the backbone of the team, essentially. And then going into that second season, Coach Rocky Zinger at the time kind of told me that was going to be my role, I'm going to be relied upon a lot more and play a lot more games. So I think that really helped me take a step towards playing those starter minutes going forward in juniors and then in Kindersley, and then going to college and playing most of the games there through my 4 years. It was good to kind of have that starting job pressure in juniors and not sitting behind a goalie for a couple of years and then only getting 1 year of that or something. So it was definitely a good 2 years for me to learn, and was definitely the right route for me to take as far as developmentally and trying to get to that next level.
And when did the calls start coming from schools during that first year? Because he had good numbers in that first year, like a 214 goals against, 937, or did that really only come after that big year?
I got a few in the off season. I didn't really put my name out there too much at the time. It wasn't. I feel nowadays it's a little bit more of colleges reaching out, especially in Canada, and the SJHL has grown a little bit that way, where teams are starting to find those players in the SJ and the MJHL, where maybe when I was there they weren't looking as deep per se. And so didn't really have much contact my first year, and then I ended up going to UMass Lowell, which is out just outside of Boston, to go for a tryout camp kind of thing, where it was basically just a ton of kids pay to go play in front of a bunch of college scouts to get your name there. And I don't even know if Omaha was at that, but I know that out of that I got a few contacts and got to talk to a few schools. And then it actually was the World Junior A Challenge that was hosted in Kindersley that second year that got me kind of on the radar with Omaha. And then once our season was over, they kind of ran into some goalie issues for the next season, and they came calling, and it was kind of a whirlwind of going from looking at next year what we might have coming back to Kindersley to all of a sudden now I'm picking out my classes for school. So it went quick, but it was definitely a good experience as far as taking my time through that year and not just picking the first school that came to me.
What did you take at school?
I ended up doing, I wanted to do some sciences. I was actually in general sciences and taking a bunch of pretty difficult classes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then it just kind of started overlapping where we practiced from noon till 3. It was our kind of practice slot for working out and everything. And all of the science classes were at 1 p.m. So it made it difficult. So I ended up just going to a general studies degree with a minor in psychology. So
Oh, yeah.
didn't come out of there with what I was originally expecting, but definitely still a degree and still something that that'll be proud of down the road here.
Oh, for sure. And you're also good friends with one of our current goalies now, Matt Vicente. How did that all come about?
It's actually funny. I way back when I first started kind of coaching a little bit in the off season, I was coaching him when he was playing for the Hustlin' Huskies or the Husky Prospects, whichever team. And now that he's at the age that I was when I was doing that, he started to coach with the same group of coaches that I have with Focus Goaltending in Saskatoon. And we just kind of, without spending so much time at the rink together, coaching and skating together, we kind of just became buddies through that. And I know he was this year. He's wearing one of my helmets from college because his was beat up.
Oh, is he?
I refused to let him wear his gross beat up old helmets, so I sold him mine. It's just sitting there collecting dust. You might as well have something that's protective there. So I think he likes it. It's kind of funny for both of us, but I'm just happy to see another guy that I know and appreciate go out and have some success in the same place that I did.
Oh, yeah. Some of that training must have rubbed off because he was ripping it up with us too. So
yeah, he's good.
Oh, yeah, he's good. So were your eyes always on the NCAA route, or did you originally want to go to the Dub, or how did that all go?
Was kind of in between. I had a cousin that played at St. Lawrence University in the ECAC there for 4 years, and he's a bit older than me, so he kind of brought my eyes to the NCAA. But I definitely still had that Western Canadian wide-eyed dream of playing in the WHL and getting to play in front of those hometown fans whether you're on the road or at home kind of thing. Like you look up to it as a kid from Saskatoon. But once I went to Kelowna's camp, at 17, they kind of told me, hey, like, you can sign and play a few games, but we're not going to be keeping you for the year, or we'll just drop you from the list. You can go home and you can try and go to college and probably have more success that way. And once I heard it from a team, and it wasn't just my parents and my cousin and kind of people around me, once it was somebody kind of just outside that inner circle that also thought I should do it, it was kind of that last switch where it was like, yeah, that's the road I should be going. And that ended up working out the way I wanted, and very happy with the way I went about things, or else I would be probably not where I am right now.
Oh, yeah, it seems like it's working out. What's Nebraska like as a school?
It's a pretty nice school. I'd compare it a lot to the University of Saskatchewan, actually. It's
okay.
Pretty relatively small school in the grand scheme of things inside of a pretty big city. And so there's 1 million people in the whole Omaha community, and it's a really nice city, and it's kind of just in the flatlands like Saskatoon. So it wasn't too much of a transition, but it's a really, really nice school. The rink was brand new my freshman year. We actually opened it. It was pretty cool to be a part of that. And so definitely wasn't a huge transition, but obviously the hockey was a bit of a step up once you get there, but it didn't take long.
And it's probably a place that keeps you out of trouble, eh? Nothing like Zoomass or Arizona.
No, we had our fair share of what could have been issues, but it's a school where you're not necessarily known for partying. So more of just buckling down, hanging out with the teammates, and kind of going about business that way. And
when I was looking at your hockey DB, as soon as I saw University of Nebraska, I had to race over to see if you crossed over with Jake Guentzel, and of course you did. So what was he like? Could you tell right away that he was going to be as big of a stud as he is?
It might hurt his feelings a little bit. Hopefully he doesn't hear this, but I didn't do much research going in. I didn't know who the really good players were on my team. I didn't know who the great players in the conference were, and you figured it out pretty soon. Like you could tell that Guentzel was one of our better players. He played with two guys in particular, Austin Ortega, was playing in the Dell last year, I think. Might have been he was actually in the Finnish Elite League for a little bit, and then another guy that's playing in the top league in Sweden. So there's three guys that are really good hockey players. And so you could tell like, oh, they're all really good, but what is it that makes that line so good? And once we lost out of playoffs at the end of that year to Denver, he was wearing his jersey for forever, it felt like. So you could kind of tell, oh, he's probably going to sign and go leave. And then he went to the AHL, did pretty well. And so we all kind of still at this point was like, okay, he's a good hockey player. Like he was great for us. He's been doing well in the A. And then once he got to the NHL, you're like, oh yeah, no, he is a really good hockey player.
Not bad.
Some success out there. And yeah, and he's such a good guy. I mean, the 1 year I got to spend with him, he was one of those guys where it didn't matter if you were a top contributor as a freshman or just a freshman that was a walk-on and just like was there working hard. He was best friends with everybody. So it was a pretty cool kind of dynamic. And he also invited all of us to the Stanley Cup party, which is pretty cool of him.
And did you go?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. What was that like?
Oh, it was one of the more exciting weekends of my life. I'll be honest.
That was the one that was the first of the back-to-back, or which one?
Second of the back-to-back.
So did they have the party back in Pittsburgh, or did they stay in Nashville?
And so they had their team party and stuff, and a couple of the guys went to the last game that they won it. But then when he got his day with the cup, it was, I want to say mid-July. And so we had to be at school July 7th. And so we got to school, whatever. And then he talked to our coach and said, hey, can these guys come up to Minnesota for the cup party? Like they'll only miss 2 days of workouts and stuff because school only runs from Monday to Wednesday in the summer for us. And so we all drove up, went to the cup party, stayed. A couple of us stayed in Minneapolis, maybe a few days longer than we should have because we could have been back on the Saturday. But it was just fun to be around Guentzel and kind of be there when you're celebrating something like that. You know, it's one of those.
Oh, well, so you got to meet Crosby and those guys then, right?
Didn't get to meet most of them. I think I can't remember. There's a couple of the guys that were at Guentzel's party there, but I can't really remember who because it wasn't like any of the must have
been a good party then if you can't remember.
It wasn't a bad time.
Do you still keep pretty good contact with him even now?
Not too much. I mean, I'll play video games with him occasionally, but he's got
a bit going on.
Yeah, he's a bit busier than me. I know he proposed to his girlfriend a couple months ago, and so he's probably working on a few things with that, and obviously still got the NHL going on, so a little busy.
So you bounced around a little bit in the East Coast, but looks like you found a pretty good home here in Wichita. Yeah. Just how's that like? How's that city? How's that team?
Wichita, it's about 4 hours from Omaha, so it's not different. It's awesome though. I mean, we have arguably the best coaching staff in the ECHL with Bruce Ramsey and John Gerskis. It's just one of those teams where it's a pleasure going to the rink every day. And we've got an unbelievable just group of guys, and it's kind of one of those things where last year there's so much turnover, and I was on, like you said, 3 different teams in the coast, 1 over in Europe, and so didn't really have a time to settle down. But as soon as I got here this year, after knowing a decent amount of the guys from last year, it was kind of one of those things where you just fit right in immediately, and it almost felt like home, weirdly enough, which is kind of sappy to say, but it's a pretty great organization. It's a good team, and it's been a lot of fun this year.
And you mentioned Europe. I see. Yeah, you played 7 games in Norway with Mangelrud, and that was at the end of last year. So I imagine you guys got shut down with COVID, and you wanted a place to play. Is that how that worked out?
Yeah, we finished our season. It was basically a winner goes to playoffs on the last game of the year, and that was pretty much our team's goal. We kind of knew going into playoffs that we were going to be playing the number 1 team who had 6 losses all year. So odds of us feeding them 4 losses in 7 games was probably pretty low, but we just wanted to make the playoffs and just kind of give it all we got. And yeah, they told us on a Wednesday that, or told us on Monday that they were shutting down for 2 weeks to kind of get it under control. And then Wednesday they shut it down, and Thursday 9 o'clock I was on a flight out of there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was quick.
So you guys, how's the team this year? I see you personally were 15-6-4, so that's a playoff type record. Are you guys in the playoff hunt right now? What's going
So
on there?
we're currently, they're doing it at points percentages this year because
okay.
they were supposed to have a staggered start with half the team starting in December, half in July or January, but only one team joined, Fort Wayne Comets. And so they have a substantial number of games missing compared to us. And so it's basically win percentage, so or points percentage. So if you get a shootout loss, you get obviously 0.5% of the, or 550%, sorry, of the win percent or point percent, whatever. And so we're sitting in second right now, just behind Fort Wayne, but because of their games played, if they lose 1 or 2 in a row, we're looking pretty good. And so we got a couple big games here against Utah on Wednesday, and then 3 against the Allen Americans on the weekend. That if we can kind of take 3 or even split that, we'll be looking pretty good going down the stretch here with, I think, 19 games left. So yeah, we're looking like we'll be playing into July.
Right on. So that was, I see you played a little bit in Florida Everblades too, and the one game you played, 963, only 1 goal against. What was, were you traded? What was, how all those teams?
I guess, yeah, for a lot of people back home, the ECHL is kind of a foreign thing to them. So after my senior year of college, I was just a free agent. And so as a Canadian, I can't sign a real contracts. I don't have a work visa, but I can sign what they call an amateur tryout contract. So you don't get paid, you just get the per diem, which is sucks because you're just losing money at the end of the day, but the experience is obviously worth it. So I ended up signing one of those with Florida a couple weeks after our season ended. Went there, backed up for 3 games, and then they had the division locked up. So they were just like, oh, we'll give you the last game of the season kind of thing. And it went pretty well. We were playing Jacksonville, and they weren't particularly great that year. So kind of got a nice, easy game to get my feet wet in the league. And then I actually went and sat on the bench for a playoff series in South Carolina, but didn't touch the ice. But yeah, and then went to Allen to start last year. We played 2 games there, got traded here, played 14 or so. And then, yeah, I went to Europe after that. But this year's been a little bit more steady.
Oh yeah, you're ripping it up this year, almost like you were with the Klippers. So what's the future looking like? You just want to keep plugging away and trying to just play as many years as you can at the highest level you can, or what's the future look like?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I don't particularly want to stay in North America as far as my professional career, just because you play so many games and it's hard on the body. I mean, I'm only 24, and playing this many games cost me a month of the season because of a groin injury. So I'm looking to try and get back to Europe and play a full season there, where you maybe make a little bit more money than you do here, but you also get less games, and kind of just that experience of being in Europe, getting to travel and kind of see things that you don't see over here, right? And so
yeah,
I think
go ahead.
Yeah, down the road, I just want to try and play as long as I can, really at a level that gets me paid well enough to live my life.
Right on. And would you probably Norway again, or where would you, if you had to pick a spot?
Norway would be near the top of my list for sure. I mean, absolutely gorgeous country. The food was I mean, they didn't have not a lot of beef or like chicken or anything, but as far as like seafood and stuff, it was all so fresh and absolutely delicious. Germany, I've heard good things. I wouldn't mind like Denmark or Austria or something like that, but pretty much anywhere in those mid-northern European countries, they have some pretty good hockey where you get treated well, and you get to kind of live life that you don't live here with 2-week breaks every so often to go travel and stuff. So it's just a whole different experience, I guess.
And what and at like years and years down the road, what do you want to do after hockey? You want to use your degree, or what's that? What's your plan
Yeah,
there?
I wouldn't mind trying to finish my degree into just a full psych degree, and then wouldn't I mean, I've been coaching goalie coaching for a couple of years now in the off season, and I wouldn't mind. One of my coworkers and I had an idea of kind of starting another branch of our thing in Calgary, and then also having the sports psych side of it, kind of going about things with maybe not just the goalie training, but the actual mental training as well. So exploring that side.
What's that company called? Give yourself a little plug here.
The company that I work for right now is Focus Goaltending. We're I don't know where our shop's located, but it's in Saskatoon. We've got the best goalie coaches in Saskatchewan there. And so if you have any goalies, send them that way.
All right on. Well, this has been awesome, man. Thanks for hopping on. We'll keep track of your career, and I'm sure when you're ripping it up in Europe, we'll give you another call.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.